Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Retail Podcast. I'm joined by Jason, an ex-Amazonian executive. Rather than me probably butcher your career history, I'd love to hear about your, where have you come from all the way to what you guys are doing and obviously what Shipium are focused on.
Yeah, so I mean, the origin story is actually a pretty good one for Shipium, but I started at Amazon in 1999. I was there for almost 20 years, and the majority of my career was really focused on logistics and technology. And early days with that meant is I worked a lot on how to build the fulfillment centers, how we run the fulfillment centers. It's kind of a normal thing these days. There's a lot of e-commerce out there, but back in the early 2000s, it was a really interesting problem to figure out, how do you actually scale and build out these fulfillment centers such that they're able to run, the millions of shipments through them that you see in today's market, right? And figure all that was great. Around 2010, though, I took over the supply chain, and that was right about the time that Prime started to come online at Amazon. The whole concept, Prime became the primary growth lever for Amazon. And my job, the way I looked at it, was I had to help make Prime a profitable business, right? And to do that by turning the supply chain into an intelligent model of how the world runs. And so if you kind of think about the supply chain as this series of decisions, the better you are at those decisions, the better outcomes you get. And so it was about positioning inventory correctly, forecasting demand, deciding how much to buy, thinking about what do you tell the customer in terms of when they should expect it, when they should actually get it delivered, order flows, managing transshipments and movement of inventory between the buildings, and then ultimately using a wide array of carriers to fulfill those orders. And so you combine all that together and you get favorable outcomes in terms of both speed, which was needed to obviously implement Prime, as well as costs, which made it into a profitable business and a huge, huge lever for Amazon. So, the public numbers for Prime was it actually was selling 4 times or 400%. Customers that use Prime bought 4 times as much as customers that didn't have Prime.
Yeah.
And so it was the
Started in.
Exactly. It changed a lot of perspective. So I actually left Amazon in 2018 and I started Shipium in late 2019. And really what happened 2018 to 2019 is I was looking around the industry and I kind of found this white space out there that it was very clear that retailers, did not have the technology they needed to actually implement and compete directly with Amazon on the speed and delivery front. So both predictability and how accurately shipments get delivered to people, their expectations, which drives conversion and revenue, as well as just the actual speed of delivery based on using, getting inventory in the right position and then using the right carrier at the right time. And so that's the heart of what Shipium is trying to do. It's trying to provide a tools and technology that solves that. A lot of retailers have kind of invested heavily in the right people to do this, but they don't have the technology to actually solve that. And that's where Shipium fits in.
How much is the technology that retailers already have? Because sometimes there are these sunk monolithic systems that have been running their stores and operation centers. How do you get over that?
Yeah, I mean, we've tried to position. I mean, the joke is always like, software needs to be completely rewritten every 5 years, really, right? And that was true at Amazon. We were constantly moving and shifting this around. But what we try to do is you try to kind of move to more of this microservices model where it's a little more composable, where you can actually plug these pieces in. They individually provide value, but then in a coordinated fashion, they provide even more value. So we think about it as we're not ripping out the WMS. We're providing the plugin required to ship efficiently out of a WMS. We're not ripping out the OMS. We're actually providing the intelligence and the data from the transportation network, as well as the final decision that lets you actually fulfill the order from the correct location. We're not repping out their website. We're providing a delivery promise plugin that's able to be used with that. But all that being said, technology is going to be a challenge for retailers. It's going to be it's much more demanding on the e-commerce side than it ever was on the physical store side, and it's going to be a continued push to upgrade and move those along. So.
I mean, it sounds like a dream, right?
Yeah.
If you turn up to a retailer and said, by the way, would you like an Amazon Prime-esque buy-up software? And you're like, well, yeah, we could do it. From the last mile, in terms of fulfillment, and this is just a curiosity thing, your experience in the market, your experience of having to get things 24 hours for, how do people overcome the last mile? Should they be trying to solve that themselves as a retailer? Or from your experience, forget about it, just get a partner, and get them to do the I'm just curious what.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thought would just be Amazon didn't really get into delivering their own stuff until probably 2014, 2015, maybe even a little later in the US. And so you can go a long ways with carriers. And I actually think there's been a really growing ecosystem of carriers in the US, especially that are kind of approaching in innovative ways, right? You have the VOs that are using like, more gig type flex workers. You have Pandion, which is trying to do dynamic routing. You have Smart Cargo, which is using the belly of the airplane. And I think all of that stuff, my point is there's a lot of new carriers out there that are doing a great job of kind of innovating and pushing the envelope. And it's more about optionality and having the ability to kind of use them at the right place at the right time. Yeah. And so I would say most companies can't justify doing their own delivery network at this point. Yeah. It makes a lot more sense to partner with someone like Shipium, where we can actually broaden you out and I'll give you access to this large carrier base.
And where do you start and where do you stop in terms of the software stack or the services that you offer?
I think if you think about it as the e-commerce supply chain, kind of once the inventory is in the network, right? There's all these decisions required around positioning and delivery promise and order routing and carrier management and rate shopping. And we handle all of that in our platform and also the post-order tracking. We handle that stuff in our platform. We definitely don't work with orders. We're not an OMS, and we're definitely not a ocean freight competitor or freight forwarder or anything like that. And so, yeah.
Okay. And then in terms of you mentioned early on some of the, I think it may have been off camera, conversion. As a retailer, what type of conversion numbers exist, or what have you seen from your experience?
Yeah, I think I think so. You can kind of triangulate a couple things, and I can't provide all the gory details, but I think when you have a predictable delivery experience that's reasonably fast, you can expect about a 5% conversion rate improvement in your selling, right?
And in your upsell.
In your upsell, yeah. So you think about it as people that come visit a page, are they, 100 people that visit? If there was 10 people that were going to buy before, there's 15 now.
Wow. And then in terms of the complex or how much of a friction that is, in terms of how long would it take me to get a new service in that does what Shipium does? What's the sort of lead time that I should be thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, we like to believe, like I kind of said earlier, we are a composable type solution, and you can bring pieces in somewhat independently and somewhat in a way that you're kind of incrementally adding value. So we really recommend we want to launch in one fulfillment center, start getting value from that, and then build on that win, and continue to grow. And so that's kind of how we've typically approached it. I think all that being said, we're definitely not a sign up with a credit card and use it in an afternoon. We work with larger retailers who have complex networks, complex needs. We want to understand what they're trying to do so we can solve their specific problem. But we're also not an ERP or a re-platform, which requires years and years. So I'll just say maybe 2 or 3 months, realistically, to get everything going.
That's fantastic. You're a US-based company, so if I want to learn more about you, how do I find out about you? Where are you based? How do we get in contact? How do people get in contact with you guys?
Out of Seattle, but you can definitely just go to shipium.com and there's information about how to contact us. So
I love Seattle. Jason, thank you so much.